Okay, hello and welcome to the next episode of Advanced Blueprint Tutorials. In this episode we'll be looking at our Sword and Shield example gameplay that we already created, and we'll be changing it to use abilities. So just for start I went into plugins and enabled Able ability system, and we'll be using that to drive our entire ability system. However, when I upload this project, this will be turned off by default because this is a paid plugin and not everyone owns it, so I don't want people to think that it is absolutely necessary to run the project. Also, just for this example, we'll be copying this melee combat character guy and add Able to him, and we will set him as the default character. Okay, and now this guy, in order to run abilities, he will, you guessed it, require an ability component inside him. So what we have to do is just add ability component, which is just by default with Able abilities. So now we're not changing this because tracing will still be done based on our combat component, but triggering of this entire thing in input side will be done differently, because right now we're doing this add and remove tag, which is just functions running on server and on client simultaneously, and yeah, we're changing that. We already covered sprint before, so I'm not changing how we're doing sprinting, but we will change how we're doing combat. So combat that is driven by gameplay tags is fine. We're not going to change that really. But we are going to drive those tags in a different way. So we'll go into okay, something that we'll have to delete later as well. We're gonna have to go into blueprints, AnimBP, go into our core AnimBP, and oh no, not this guy. Let's change preview mesh to our AGR mannequin, not the zombie guy. Thank you. And now we have to go to event graph, and okay, so this was the ragdoll test. I will have to move it somewhere else, and so ragdoll, we'll cut it out, and ragdoll will be done in interface calls. And this goes to our get component by class animation master. Let's move this a bit. Let's move this lower and this here. Okay, so the ragdoll is still working. We don't need this anymore. And we need to go, well, actually here, and when we have this sequence, we'll add a new one. And in this new one, what we have to do is do probably the same thing that we do here. So try get pawn owner, and then get component by class. And this component by class will be able ability component, able ability component, yes, this one. And we'll check if it's valid. So if our character even has that one, and when we turn off the plugin of Able, this will just invalidate, so we will get component by class of no class. So it will always be invalid, but it will not, you know, break completely, which is also very important. And now from this component we can get okay, we can probably get tags through the ability checks passes. If we have all tags, okay, get abilities and get active ability. Okay, get ability tag container. Okay, so we need our active ability tag container, and for each loop get ability tag container. So this is a tag container. So what we need our animation tag container, which is already existing, and then append tags and just add all those tags and do this again here on the body loop. And depending on how many abilities we are running, this will add a really lot of tags. Okay, and okay. Okay, so there are two ways to do tags when it comes down to abilities. If we go and make a new ability, which we'll do right now, we'll just go into examples, new folder, abilities. We'll make a new able ability. So let's go able ability blueprint. This is the base class of able ability. And by the way, abilities, they don't inherit from a class. They make actually a copy of a class. So if you make a starting of an ability, a different ability, it will copy that ability instead of inherit. So if you modify the child ability, it will not automatically modify all the, the parent ability, it will not modify the child abilities. So keep that in mind, that if you have, abilities that you might modify in future and change some function in them, you will have to update all abilities in the chain that's using this as a parent. Okay, so let's call it A. Oh, thank you, autosave. Let's call it A underscore attack. Simple as that. And now A underscore attack. What it will be doing, and as a preview, is character, obviously. And we don't care really about preview, to be honest, but let's say that we want to do a preview, and it will be, thank you very much. Okay, so able BP melee character able. Okay, we got this preview guy, and the target can be the same. Only it worked. Okay, never mind. So what we want to have in timeline? Absolutely nothing. What do we want to have in ability properties? Let's think about it. So first of all, we want this ability to be active, not a passive one. We want this ability to have certain length, but we have this option of holding the right mouse button, and by the way, we'll need an actual input for that. So instead of left and right mouse button, we will need inputs, and those inputs will be left trigger and right trigger. So the left trigger is the left mouse button, and the right is right mouse button, and we can also add one for the gamepad, which would be left trigger, well, not axis, just trigger, and right trigger. Okay, and that's it. So yeah, now we have left trigger and right trigger. Okay, so let's go left trigger and right trigger instead of left and right mouse button. So left is on the top, right is on the bottom. We don't need those anymore. Okay. And now we want this to be an active ability. Its length can be of actually anything, because it will be looping, and it can loop the entire thing, doesn't really matter. And the important part is that it has to be looping, so it can be also channeled. So we're doing a channeled, and we're doing a channel condition with this input, and this input condition is left trigger. And it must be exactly as we spelled. So uppercase, uppercase. Okay, so that's fine. So this is the input, and it must be meeting all conditions, and failed means successful, actually. And now tag container. Now this is the important part. What we want to have it to use combat. And now what did we use as a tag to trigger this? I think it was ability common attack. Yeah, ability common attack. So this is the tag of this ability. So whenever we hit this ability, it will contain this tag container, and it will have this tag. And because of how we set up here, it will take our active ability at every frame, it will get its tag container, it will add this tag container to our animation tag container. And this method will be actually faster and more reliable than the one that we set up previously. Because previously what we were doing, we were setting the tag container locally, which is replicated value, and then we call the server and set it on the server, so it got replicated to other clients. But in the process as well, we were replicating this value back on our client. So if you were clicking attack and let it go, you might get into an attack loop, because the server would replicate attack back at you in unreliable state, because it's it can execute in different order when it's running those RPCs. So you could get stuck in an attack loop even though you let go of the input. And also there was a certain lag of this replicated value, that if you have ping over, let's say 200, 300, you would experience a very bad time when animations would retrigger, for example. So now when you're doing this, you're doing it only on the client side, and because ability is being replicated, it's being done on the client side on both the client, the server, and the remote clients. So now it is in perfect sync between all clients. And do we need to do anything else for this ability? Not really. We don't have to do anything here. There's no reason for us. And this should work by itself already. Okay, so let's try it. Let's get our ability. Let's activate ability. And to activate ability, we need to make context. Create ability context, and to create ability context, we need ability component anyway. Unless we do it like this, but it doesn't really matter, it's the same. And then owner is always self, and instigator, well, oh no, not this self, the actual self of this actor. Get a reference to self, yeah, not self ability but self actor. And this will be from class, get ability object from class, and instigator can be something different. So let's make this a macro and call this activate ability, or even actually try activate ability. And in try activate ability, we have this output, and we have this input, and we have instigator input, because it can be changed depending on the ability. So the instigator could be controller, it could be a weapon, it could be a component, it could be something, right? Like something else. But owner will always be the owner of this ability component, because this is how I want to trigger all my abilities, and I want to push class. Okay, so compile this. This is done. Let's go here. So left trigger pressed, I want to do a attack, and our instigator will be just self. There's no reason to do anything else. And you know what? No, I don't need anything here. Let's go here. Let's make sure that there is one more thing. Override. Can ability execute. Well, it can always execute. We don't have a stamina system. Can loop execute, always can execute. Can client cancel ability? By default, this is false. So we need to change it to true. By default, always for this ability. And that's it. And there is also should cancel ability. Cancel the code by the cancel ability task to do any custom logic to determine whether or not to cancel the passed in ability on the task target. Okay, so this is irrelevant for this ability, honestly, but this is something that we should pay more attention to. So like those two cancel functions and can ability execute, it should be used in basically every ability you ever make, unless this is just an example. We don't have any resources, we don't have, you know, any conditions that our attack might oh, you know what, there is actually a condition. So we can go and can ability execute, and it can only execute if owner get component by class, and this will be, for example, animation, master component, ragdoll is ragdolling not. So we can attack only if we are not in ragdoll, because if we are in ragdoll, we are, well, dead. So most likely, so we can't execute ability then. So this is one of small examples of having some gatekeeping of can ability execute. We might as well get owner and have an interface call that would be just checking this, and we would change the function of how it calculates if ability can execute or not directly in the character, but this is a topic for a separate video, honestly. So let's do this. We got this, we don't need anything here, and this is fine. Okay. Okay, just save it, and yeah, let's try. So we don't have to do release because we are already have this ability on being channeled. So if we release the trigger, it will just break the channel and will no longer, it will just cancel ability and will give us a successful, it will just trigger this on ability end. It will not trigger interruption or branch, but it will give us also successful ability, you know, return value when it ends. So let's just save it and let's see if it works. Oh, I wonder why this is broken. Like, this is one I really want to fix, because this major ragdoll and the rest is just doesn't matter. Those are the Resident Evil examples that they are bound to be broken. Those are the counters. I deleted the counters content, so it's obviously not working. Overlay Q ability. This is counters and this is counters. So yeah, just don't mind those errors. It doesn't matter. This one is the one that I want to fix, and that's it. Okay. And this goes here, and this is always true as well. So that's it. And this is no longer necessary, and blend weight is here. Okay. Okay, so that works. So this is fixed. The rest doesn't matter, and we can now play. Yeah, play in editor. Everything works. So now if I hold left trigger, oh, nothing happens. Now why nothing happens? We're going to check in a second. So this is left, yeah, this is left. So access now trying to get ability, blueprint, append gameplay tag container. Okay. Okay, so first of all, it has to be valid to even try. Now, second of all, length of this needs to be greater than 0, and only then you want to do this. And what we want to do is do a sequence and go into this. So we will check separately active abilities and separately passive abilities, and we do some gatekeeping for them. Okay, so this should work a lot better and resolve most of our errors, and now we'll see why the ability is not triggering itself. Okay. Okay, let's see. This will be a very quick check because I had an issue previously with looping animations. I mean, looping and channeled abilities that were not passive, and they were just not working at all. So we'll see if it was this. No. Okay, so we can make it passive, I mean active as it was. So now let's debug this thing. So let's do print string and say start and say stop, and this is just this. No, that's a cool feature. Okay, so let's leave it as no, it looks terrible. So let's just save that, and let's go can ability execute and do a print string here as well, and see if it even triggers this. So let's go. Start, stop, start, stop, stop. Okay, so one start and one true is triggered by the server, and one is triggered by the client. So this is fine. You can see the lag, simulated lag that I have, which is something around 100 milliseconds. Okay, so it is starting and stopping this. But for some reason, okay, we'll do something else. No, wait, let's go here, let's go into our overlay, let's go into, where is it? Sword and shield linked. Oh, okay. So in our event graph here, find reference. So we get a set tags, and then we do all this stuff here. Yeah. So this is something we shouldn't do. And let me think. Yeah, let's delete all of that, honestly, and let's expose tags, and let's go here, and here we weren't really pushing tags forward, we're redoing it again. So it yeah, it wasn't reading our tags, so there was no way that this execution would do anything for our sword and shield. But now our sword and shield is not reading its own tags from somewhere, it's taking tags from the master. So now it should actually receive the tags, and it is, and it is, and it is a lot more reliable, and it is now a lot faster because it's well, client side when it comes down to visuals. Okay, so that's a lot better already. Okay, thank you guys for joining me in today's episode. This is the end of this series. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you liked what we've done here, and we'll check out the rest of my channel. We also recently started a Discord where you can discuss every episode and you know, get a lot of help when something is not working as intended in when you're redoing those videos. And there's a lot of helpful people, so take a look there. Also consider liking this video if it helped you in any way and improved your workflow, and you know, maybe subscribe, because I'm doing those videos at least 2-3 times a week. Thank you for tuning in, and see you guys soon. Bye.